The murder of Jim, the son of Martha and George, is a very complex case. But at the very root of this case is Martha's delusion and the consequences that occur when George can no longer handle it. In Edward Albee's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Martha is under the illusion that she has a son, whereas in reality, her son exists only in her mind. Even though babies typically signal a transition in life, Martha's perpetuation of this illusion represents her inability to develop sexual relationships with men due to her poor relationship with her father. By eventually destroying her illusion, and thus her childlike innocence, symbolized through her son's death by porcupine, Albee examines the changing world around him at the onset of the 1960s sexual revolution by asserting that the sexual revolution itself is an illusion, and people are still constrained by the monogamous aspects of society even as they struggle to attain sexual liberation. And George wheeled around real quick, and he caught her right in the jaw. Pow! I hadn't meant it, honestly. Anyway, pow! Right in the jaw. And he was off balance. He must have been. And he stumbled back a few steps, and then crash! He landed flat in a huckleberry bush.
I think it's colored our whole life. Really, I do. It's an excuse anyway. It's what he uses for being bogged down anyway. Why, he hasn't gone anywhere. And it was an accident. A real goddamn accident. Ah!
Pow! You're dead! Pow! You're dead!
Where'd you get that, you bastard?
Oh, I've had it a while. Did you like that?
You bastard.
You liked that, did you?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Come on, give me a kiss.
Later, sweetie. Oh, is that what we're after? What are we gonna have? Blue games for the guests?
You prick.
Everything in its place, Martha. Everything in its own good time.
I've never been so scared in my entire life. I really thought George was going to shoot Martha. Even though I was pretty intoxicated, I can clearly remember being able to tell George and Martha were living in a dysfunctional relationship. This was the start of the evening chaos.
Hey, where is everybody? So, drop me. Pluck me like a goddamn whatever it is. Creeping vine and throw me over your shoulder like an old shoe. George! 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 What are you doing? Hiding or something? George! Oh, for cry. Deserted, abandoned, left out in the cold like an old pussycat. Ha! I'm the hostess? Ha! Fat chance. Fat chance. Daddy, Daddy, Martha is abandoned, left to her own vices at something o'clock in the old a.m. Daddy White Mouse, do you really have red eyes? Do you? Let me see. Oh, you do, Daddy. You have red eyes because you cry all the time, don't you, Daddy? Yes, you do. You cry all the time. I'll give all you bastards 5 to come out from where you're hiding. I cry all the time too, Daddy. I cry all the time. But deep inside so no one can see me. I cry all the time. And George cries all the time too. We both cry all the time, and then what we do, we cry and we take our tears and we put them in the ice box, in the goddamn ice trays. Until they're frozen. And then we put them in our drinks. I've got windshield wipers on my eyes because I married you, baby.
My God, you've gone crazy too.
Think?
You're all crazy, nuts.
Oh, 'tis the refuge we take when the unreality of the world weighs too heavy on our tiny heads. Relax, sink into it. You're no better than anybody else.
I think I am.
You're certainly a flop in some departments.
I beg your pardon.
I said you're certainly a flop in some.
I'm sorry you're disappointed.
I didn't say I was disappointed, stupid.
You should try me sometime, maybe, when we haven't been drinking for 10 hours, and maybe...
I wasn't talking about your potential. I was talking about your goddamn performance.
Okay.
Your potential's fine. It's dandy. Absolutely dandy. I haven't seen such a dandy potential in a long time. Oh, but baby, you sure are a flop.
Everybody's a flop to you. Your husband's a flop. I'm a flop.
You're all flops. I am the Earth Mother, and you're all flops.
I could tell Martha was having some issues after our encounter. Even though I did have some performance issues, I felt like she was determined to tear me down from the beginning. No matter what happened, she would have been disappointed because she's in love with the potential but can't stand the reality.
Isn't Martha something? Here we are on the eve of our boy's homecoming, the eve of his 21st birthday. His majority, and Martha says don't talk about him.
Just don't.
But I want to, Martha. It's very important we talk about him. He's a nice kid, really, in spite of his home life. I mean, most kids would grow up neurotic, what with Martha here carrying on the way she does, sleeping till 4 p.m., climbing all over the poor bastard, trying to break the bathroom door down to wash him in the tub when he's 16, dragging strangers into the house at all hours.
Okay, you.
Martha!
That's enough.
Well, do you want to take over?
Why would anybody want to watch someone who's 16 years old?
Oh, for Christ's sakes, honey.
Well, why?
Because it's her baby poo.
All right. Our son, you want our son, you'll have it. Our son. Our son was born in a September night. A night not unlike tonight, though tomorrow, and 21 years ago.
You see? I told you.
It was an easy birth.
Oh, Martha, no. You labored. How you labored.
It was an easy birth once it had been accepted, relaxed into.
Martha thinks she saw him at the delivery.
With slippery, firm limbs and a full head of black, fine hair, which, later became blonde as the sun, our son.
You see, Martha here stops just when the going gets good, just when things start getting a little rough. Now, Martha here is a misunderstood little girl. She really is. Not only does she have a husband who is a bog, younger than she is, bog I'll bite. Not only does she have a husband who is a bog, she has as well a tiny problem with spirituous liquors, like she can't get enough.
No more George.
And on top of all of that, the poor, weighed-down girl, plus a father who doesn't really give a damn whether she lives or dies, who couldn't care less what happens to his only daughter. On top of all that, she has a son. She has a son who fought her every inch of the way, who didn't want to be turned into a weapon against his father, who didn't want to be used as a goddamn club whenever Martha didn't get things like she wanted them.
Lies.
Lies? All right. A son who would not disown his father, who came to him for advice, for information, for love that wasn't mixed with sickness, and you know what I mean, Martha, who could not tolerate the slashing, braying residue that called itself his mother. Mother? Ha!
All right, you. A son who is so ashamed of his father that he asked me once if it possibly wasn't true, if he had heard from some cruel boys, maybe, that he was not our child, who could not tolerate the shabby failure his father had become.
Lies.
Lies, who would not bring his girlfriend to the house.
It's the shame of his mother.
Of his father, who writes letters only to me.
Oh, so you think? To me, at my office.
Liar.
I have a stack of them.
You have no letters.
And you have?
He has no letters. A son who spends his summers away from his family, on any pretext, because he can't stand the shadow of a man flickering around the edges of a house.
Who spends his summers away, and he does, who spends his summers away because there isn't room for him in a house full of empty bottles, lies, strange men, and a harridan who...
Liar.
Sweetheart, I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. Well, Martha, I'm afraid our boy isn't coming home for his birthday.
Of course he is.
No, Martha.
Of course he is. I say he is.
He can't.
He is. I say so.
Martha, our son is dead. He was killed late in the afternoon. On a country road, with his learner's permit in his pocket, he swerved to avoid a porcupine and drove straight into a
You can't do that.
large tree.
No, you cannot do that. You cannot decide that for yourself. I will not let you do that.
We'll have to leave around noon, I suppose.
I will not let you decide these things.
Because there are matters of identification naturally and arrangements to be made.
You can't do this. I won't let you do this. Get your hands off me.
You don't seem to understand, Martha. I haven't done anything. Now pull yourself together. Our son is dead. Can't you get that through your head?
You can't decide these things.
He's dead. Poof. Just like that. Now how do you like it?
No.
Let her go.
You can't kill him. You can't have him die.
Lady, please.
You can't.
There was a telegram, Martha.
Show it to me. Show me the telegram.
I ate it.
did you just say to me?
I ate it.
You're not gonna get away with this.
You know the rules, Martha. You broke our rule, baby. You mentioned him.
I did not. I never did.
You mentioned him to me.
I forget. Sometimes when it's night, when it's late, and everybody else is talking, I forget and I want to mention him, but I hold on, but I've wanted to so often. Oh, George, you pushed it. There was no need for this. I mentioned him all right, but you didn't have to push it over the edge. You didn't have to kill him.
Throughout the progression of the night, the deterioration of George and Martha's relationship becomes apparent. Her promiscuity affects him to the point that he can no longer stand it, and he snapped. He killed their son Jim in an attempt to subdue Martha's struggle towards sexual liberation. As yet another one of Martha's relationships with a man fails, so does the sexual revolution of the 1960s.